they'll be singing. They'll be singing over me. And before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom. Oh, freedom over me. And before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free. And before I'll be a slave, I'll be buried in my grave and go home to my Lord and be free.
How about 4 in the supplement? Number 4 in the supplement, the dance.
Which one?
4 in the supplement, the dance. We know this one.
This is the only one in fine print. It's got smaller print than any of the all the other songs together.
I know.
Because it's a little longer song, yeah.
Got to squeeze it in.
Yeah.
This is actually kind of the same melody as
Yep,
yeah.
I know what you mean.
That one.
That one.
But it's got
Yeah.
a bunch of different chords. I danced in the morning when the world was begun. I danced in the moon and the stars and in the sun. I came down from heaven and I danced on the earth. In Bethlehem I had my birth. Dance, dance, wherever you may be. I am the Lord of the dance, said he, and I'll lead you all wherever you may be, and I'll lead you all in the dance, said he. I danced
For the scribe and the Pharisee, but they would not dance and they would not follow me. I danced for the fishermen, for James and for John. They came with me and the dance went on. I danced on the sand whenever you may be. I am the Lord of the dance, said he, and I'll lead you all wherever you may be, and I'll lead you all in the dance, said he. I danced on the Sabbath and I cured the lame. The holy people said it was a shame. They whipped and they stripped and they hung me high. They left me there on the cross to die. Dance, dance, wherever you may be. I am the Lord of the dance, said he. I'll lead you all wherever you may be, and I'll lead you all in the dance, said he. I danced on the Friday when the sky turned black. It's hard to dance with the devil on your back. They buried my body and they thought I had gone, but I am the dance and I still live on. Dance, dance, wherever you may be. I am the Lord of the dance, said he. I'll lead you all wherever you may be, and I'll lead you all in the dance, said he. They cut me down and I leaped up high. I am the life that will never ever die. I live in you and you live in me. I am the Lord of the dance, said he. Dance, dance, wherever you may be. I am the Lord of the dance, said he. And I'll lead you all wherever you may be. And I'll lead you all in the dance, said he.
How about some requests?
Got anything, Henry?
I think we had heard a 152, and I think I know what it is. Yeah.
152. Rock My Soul?
Yeah.
Rock My Soul. A catchy little tune.
Rock my soul in the bosom of Abraham. Rock my soul in the bosom of Abraham. Rock my soul in the bosom of Abraham. Oh, rock of my soul, so high you can't get over it, so low you can't get under it, so wide you can't get round it. Must go in at the door. Rock my soul in the bosom of Abraham. Rock my soul in the bosom of Abraham. Rock my soul in the bosom of Abraham. Oh, rock my soul. Rock my soul. Rock my soul. Rock my soul. Oh, rock my soul. Yeah.
Tickle them, Ivory.
Rock my soul in the bosom of Abraham. Rock my soul in the bosom of Abraham. Rock my soul in the bosom of Abraham. Oh, rock my soul. Rock my soul in the bosom of rock my soul. Rock my soul. Oh, rock my soul.
C, C.
38. All right. Souvenirs. Oh, you got this one.
I mean, it's just amazing that we don't have to
A little
do
bit.
conversion up here in the morning anymore. That's a favorite of mine too.
Yeah.
I know you like John Prine, no?
Oh, John
Can
Prine
you,
is
can you do
my
anything else with this?
main inspiration.
I mean,
Totally.
oh, wait, got a song book here. Kind of, might
It's just 3 chords in the truth here, isn't it?
F, B flat, C, A, 4 chords, C7, 5.
All the snow has turned to water. Christmas days have come childhood souvenirs. Memories that can't be bought, can't be won at carnivals for free. It took me years to get all those souvenirs, and I know that how they slipped away from me. Broken hearts and dirty windows make life difficult to see. That's why last night and this morning always look the same to me. I hate reading those old love letters, they always bring me tears. I can't forget the way they robbed me of my sweetheart souvenirs. Memories they can't be bought, can't be won at carnivals for free. It took me years to get those souvenirs, and I don't know how they slipped away from me.
Keep it going. We got 12 minutes to make the best of it.
Paradise. A little more Prine, a little more Prine. Never enough John Prine.
Never have too much John Prine.
Never enough, never too much.
I'm hearing you. When I was a child, my family would travel down to western Kentucky, where my parents were born. There's a backwoods old town that's often remembered, so many times that my memories are worn. Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay? Sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away. Well, sometimes we travel right down the Green River, the abandoned old prison down by Adrian Hill, where the air smells like snakes and we shoot with our pistols, but empty pop bottles was all we would kill. And Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay? Well, I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away. Then the coal company came with the world's largest shovel, and they tortured the timber and stripped all the land. Well, they dug for their coal till the land was forsaken, then they wrote it all down as a progress land. And Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay? Well, I'm sorry, my son, but you're too late in asking. Mr. Peabody's coal train has hauled it away.
Then my soul rolled up to the Rochester Dam. I'll be halfway to heaven with paradise waiting, just 5 miles away from wherever I am.
And Daddy, won't you take me back to Muhlenberg County, down by the Green River where paradise lay?
Well, I'm sorry, my son, but it's too late in asking.
Mr.
Peabody's coal train has hauled it away. 125. City of Dreams.
You know when to go on this.
Did you say 1, 2, 3, 4?
125.
Well, the intro.
No, yeah, it's on the bridge or the.
Oh, tell me again. I'm listening to
You
you.
know when to go on it. Yeah.
The verse and the chorus.
It's just the stuff in between.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, just the stuff in between.
Yeah. Yeah, you're a key one on this one.
Yeah, it goes through twice.
Our masked up on it if we're singing together.
Yeah. I tried to sing in that tradition. Beatles
Here where you are standing, dinosaurs did dance. The Indians told a story, now it has come to pass. The Indians had a legend, sacred centuries old. The white men came and killed them, but they haven't really gone. We live in the city of dreams, and we drive on this highway fire. If we awake and find it gone, remember this our favorite time. Germany and Europe and southern USA, they made this little town here that we live in to this day. The children of the white man saw Indians on TV. They heard about the legend, how this city was a dream. We live in the city of dreams, and we drive on this highway fire. If we awake and find it gone, remember this our favorite time. The Indian wars are over, but still a part of you. If we can live together, the dream it might come true. Underneath the concrete, the dream is still alive. If we awake and find it gone, remember this our favorite time. We live in a sea of dreams. We drive on this highway for fire. If we awake and find it gone, remember this our favorite time.
4 in the front. Numero 4. Ooh, good one. Good choice. A.P. Carter. Can't go wrong there.
I actually learned this song from a John Prine album,
There you go.
and
Of the same title.
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
And they did it all a cappella. Let's do the second verse a cappella.
Sure.
Okay.
While walking out one evening, not knowing where to go, just to pass the time away before we held our show. I heard a little mission man playing with all their might. I gave my soul to Jesus and left the show that night. The day will soon be over and evening will be gone. No more gems to be gathered, so let us all press on. When Jesus comes to claim us and says it is enough, the diamonds will be shining no longer in the rough. One more.
Page 5.
Oh, yeah.
Right there.
Page 5.
Okay,
Let's
sure.
do it. Let's do Keep on the Sunny Side.
If nobody else, another A.P. Carter.
Can't go wrong with A.P. Carter.
That's true.
Can't go wrong with John Prine. Nice and upbeat. Up tempo. There's a dark and troubled side of life. There's a bright and sunny side too. Though we meet with the darkness and strife, the sunny side we also may view. Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us
us every day. It will brighten all the way if we keep on the sunny side of life. The storm and its fury broke today, breaking hopes we cherish so dear. Clouds and storms will in time pass away. The sun will shine bright and clear. Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day. It will brighten all the way if we keep on the sunny side of life. With a song of hope each day, though the moment be cloudy or fair, let us trust in our Savior always. Keep us everyone in her care. Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side. Keep on the sunny side of life. It will help us every day. It will brighten all the way if we keep on the sunny side of life.
Acapella.
If we keep on the sunny side of life. Welcome to Walker Church,
man.
where our mission is to nurture spirituality, build caring community, and work courageously for peace, justice, and mercy. Blessed be.
Yeah, Carol has the plates. Carol has the plates. Okay, can you all hear this? It's loud enough? All right. The happy drum today to sing a nice old Spanish tune with lyrics from Isaiah 55 and a few lyrics tossed in from me, as usual. Okay. Or are you going to illuminate this?
Well, I'm just going to make it easier.
Ah. satisfy, hear that your soul does live in balance with eternity. Oh, everyone in need, return to the honey. Come buy the wine and milk without any money. Know that the end is near. Be ready when the moment comes. There is no room for fear because we are in our God. Oh, everyone in need, return to the honey. Come buy the wine and milk without any money. God manifests are real. Darkness quietly surges. We are a rolling wheel. Reality emerges. Oh, everyone in need, return to the honey. Come buy the wine and milk without any money. Oh, everyone in need, return to the honey. Come buy the wine and milk without any money. Jennifer is doing Lao Tzu today, I think. All right. She is going to come up here eventually, in her own sweet time.
The Tao Te Ching. The Tao Te Ching. The Tao Te Ching. The Way of Life according to Lao Tzu, number 29, translated by Witterbiner. Those who would take over the earth and shape it to their will never, I notice, succeed. The earth is like a vessel, so sacred that at the mere approach of the profane, it is marred. And when they reach out their fingers, it is gone. For a time in the world, some force themselves ahead, and some are left behind. For a time in the world, some make a great noise, and some are held silent. For a time in the world, some take too much, and some are kept hungry. For a time in the world, some push aboard, and some are tipped out. At no time in the world will a person who is wise overreach themselves, overspend themselves, overrate themselves.
And time for announcements. I don't think I have many here. We had to postpone Joe Hesla's concert on account of rain, but it didn't really rain, but we thought it was going to rain. So anyway, that's going to take place on August 5th, which is a Friday at 6:30 instead. And then next Sunday, Bonita is taking the service. The grief group will meet August 8th is the next meeting. We have a potluck today. Other announcements?
Diane is home from the hospital following her back surgery on Monday. She came home yesterday. Elizabeth is with her now while I'm in church, and I think she's doing pretty well. She's getting around with a walker, and I guess that's it.
Okay. Jennifer?
Yeah, so Kay is doing fine. She's at home, but she did take a fall earlier this week. She won't be here today. So we're going to need help with a lot of stuff. So please do put your chairs over there as soon as the service is done. And I'm going to need a couple strong people to go up and get a cart of folding chairs. And then I'm sure the last one was wonderful. Everybody pitched in and helped. It went great. And I'm sure things will be fine today.
Thank you. Henry?
This is kind of a all-call request for anyone who's interested in learning the soundboard. I'd love to train folks on it. So find me after the service today. And then specifically, the next discernment process meeting that we have as a congregation, Wednesday, August 3rd at 7 p.m. I'm going to be in Washington State. I'll be joining via Zoom, but I'm going to be looking for someone to train up to operate the Zoom during that particular session. So if that interests you and you're available Wednesday, August 3rd, 7 to 8:30 p.m., find me after the service.
Okay. Other announcements? You?
We haven't passed the plate.
Oh yeah, nobody passed the plate. That I forgot to mention, Carol, during the announcement. Thanks for watching about the plate. Okay. Let's see. After we've collected the offering, then Mary will read a poem, right? Why are you getting up, Howard?
I'll read the poem.
Oh.
You two are one flesh.
Oh, you're one flesh. There you go.
This is called Hymn for the Hurting. It's by Amanda Gorman. Everything hurts. Our hearts shadowed and strange, minds made muddled and mute. We carry tragedy, terrifying and true. And yet none of it is new. We knew it as home, as horror, as heritage. Even our children cannot be children, cannot be. Everything hurts. It's a hard time to be alive, and even harder to stay that way. We're burdened to live out these days, while at the same time, we are blessed to outlive them. This alarm is how we know we must be altered, that we must differ or die, that we must triumph or try. Thus, while hate cannot be terminated, it can be transformed into a love that lets us live. May we not just grieve, but give. May we not just ache, but act. May our signed right to bear arms never blind our sight from shared harm. May we choose our children over chaos. May another innocent never be lost. Maybe everything hurts, our hearts shadowed and strange, but only when everything hurts, may everything change.
Right there. I might end up holding it too. Hi, everyone. Today's rambling, let's just call it a rambling. I feel a rambling coming on. Came about after a lot of kind of pressure percolating up and inner tension, and I thought it's time to talk about the apocalypse again. I did a year and a half ago. I don't remember what I said, and I don't remember what scripture reading I had, but we'll just do this. It's from the book of Revelation by John of Patmos, not John the gospel writer or letter writer, although Revelation is in the form of a letter, and it's a form, so it takes on several different kind of biblical writing forms. Letter, prophecy, and a prophecy is like, this is what's happening, it's coming, doom, and here's what you could do to deal with it, like turn around to God. So there's some sense that human intervention could really help. And then there's the apocalyptic, which is what's going to happen is so bad, human intervention will not help. And we turn our hope, our trust, faith to divine power, to God, to deal with this, and that God can overcome the domination of whatever the problem is. So this is Revelation 21, new heaven and new earth. So after he saw a lot of strange and bizarre things in his experience, John says, "Then I saw a new heaven and a new earth, for the first heaven and the first earth had passed away, and the sea was no more. And I saw the holy city, the new Jerusalem, coming down out of heaven from God, prepared as a bride adorned for her husband. And I heard a loud voice from the throne saying, "See, the home of God is among the mortals. He will dwell with them. They will be his peoples, and God himself will be with them. He will wipe every tear from their eyes, and death will be no more. Mourning and crying and pain will be no more, for the first things have passed." And the one who was seated on the throne said, "See, I am making all things new." Also, he said, "Write this, for these words are trustworthy and true." And he said to me, "It is done. I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. To the thirsty I will give water as a gift from the spring of the water of life. Those who conquer will inherit these things, and I will be their God, and they will be my children. But as for the cowardly, the faithless, the polluted, the murderers, the fornicators, the sorcerers, the idolaters, and all liars, their place will be in the lake that burns with fire and sulfur, which is the second death." Well, on that uncomfortable word, our scripture ends. So I titled my reflections in my head, Apocalyptic Dreams. I read a lot of apocalyptic literature or post-apocalyptic literature. There are other terms for it. Anybody know other terms? It's kind of a genre. Speculative. Dystopian, eschatology, speculative fiction. Apparently other people have a sense of deep disturbance and have imagined it in different ways. I think the easiest thing to relate to is our own personal disturbances that take us over an edge, and what was is no more, and you're in a new world. I felt that way when my grandmother died when I was 13. It was such a defining moment for me. And then when I was 14 and my sister went crazy, and our whole family was a whole different dynamic. I felt that way when I was even younger, when my parents got divorced, where things were cleaved, reality was cleaved, and you had to make do with this new world. Major event and all that is such a profound grief. And what turns it into this doom or apocalyptic kind of realm is the sense of outrage, the insult to one's psyche, that this cannot be. Now, there are the other levels. I was reading or listening to a podcast called 9/12. It's all about what happened after 9/11. It's really good. I recommend it. It looks at the different dynamics in play, how people responded to an event that cleaved one reality the day before and the day after. Although it was interesting that that they did a bit in their interview about the prescient prophetic words of George Carlin, that really crude, amazing comedian who I listened to when I was 17 years old in 1977 in San Francisco. I had never really heard of him, and so I'm just there because I always wanted to see stand-up comedy. And let me tell you, he blew me away. Well, on 9/9 and 9/10, he was doing a new routine that was going to be put together in an album, a new album, and he was using, so he was using new material, and the key line that he kept repeating is, "I love disasters. I love when a lot of people die. I love when a lot of people die." And he had done jokes about Osama bin Laden, and planes flying into buildings. And he had done things like that, and scary, prescient, but anybody with some imagination could be there anyway beforehand. But for once in his life, he cut material for the final product because he didn't feel, he couldn't do this in his final production. Well, but now they have it out there so we can all hear it. But it's a call, it's a deep human cough up for radical change. It is, the idea of a disaster is that it revokes a response, and that response isn't just a lot of dead people. It is actually something might change. How can we shake things up so something can change? And the interviewer for the 9/12 podcast said, the tragedy happened on 9/11. On 9/12, there was a profound outpouring of change for the better. People gave, people helped, people grieved, people were there for other people. It was a way we could be our better selves and our better self as a society. Then he pointed out that by 9/13, our heart's call for change got kind of co-opted into a militarism and nationalistic response, and a lot of people were persecuted. Muslim communities were persecuted. You know how it all went. That kind of, and the thing is that in the midst of these kinds of events, well, no, let me go on first. Then there's George Floyd's murder. That's the other cleaving moment that comes to my mind. There was that immediate, we are here to be against the forces of evil and racism and oppression. And it is difficult because we have to figure out our role in it. But that was the immediate thing. And then it got co-opted by violence provoked by other people who were not there, who did not want a building of a better world. The new police hope got frittered away. Defunding the police had a good part, but nobody knew how to do it. Nobody understood. Nobody could catch those dynamics. So in all of this stuff, including John of Patmos, I mean, Jesus lived in apocalyptic time. Before him and after him, there are all kinds of people just knowing doom was right on the edge. And for the Jewish world, that centered, that doom and cleaving point was the destruction of the temple. And for Jesus' followers, it was his death. But they experienced resurrection. And they experienced a sense of his continued life amongst them. And so there was always this hope they clung to. But John of Patmos was actually writing about the present issues facing these 7 communities. And he used a lot of imagery, and I don't really understand it all, at all. But it was a current event. But then it was also kind of a coming event. It was something that's just around the corner, you know, when it will all totally happen, and the destruction will happen, and the rebuilding will happen, and all that. And then it became a far future event that's ever coming. At any rate, I get that sense again, though, that deep disturbance, and it's been on my mind so much about the environment, the climate change that will change us, change people, change and harm so many people, mostly in the southern part of the world, the poorer parts of the world. But I feel like this year, maybe it's more clear to more people. It's like a real thing. This inevitable climate change disaster is out of our control. As if, you know, Paris agreements really could have kept it in control. Well, it would have helped. It would have been good to give it a go. But to me, it feels more so. And Facebook, probably because they could just sense my fears, gave me the opportunity to look at this group called Deep Adaptation. Have you heard of that movement, Deep Adaptation? Well, you can get on there. They have a page on Facebook. It's based on a 2018 paper by a guy named Jem Bendell in the UK. And it was later expanded with Katie Carr and other people, but it's about preparing for the coming societal collapse. There's a sense that, you know, that we have climate change, but then there will be societal collapse. And when I read that there was a page for this, I was kind of like, oh, yeah, I've been worried about this. And it's been nagging at me, and nobody's really like talking about it, about the societal collapse. So it's kind of relieved and kind of grossed out too. That, you know, repelled by, oh dear, other people are taking this seriously too. Oh God, it must really mean. So it's like 10,000 people on Facebook, or about that number, and about 3,000 people actively engaged in it in the UK and in Europe, and I don't know if they're local chapters of this or not. because there's different groups or aspects of this movement, and I don't really have a good sense of it as a whole, how it all goes. But there's two major areas where it approaches things. One is the inner adaptation, how we prepare ourselves emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually for a great change. Another is the outer practical approach to support our well-being and to reduce harm before and during collapse, looking at sustainable living and community building and policy making. So those are good things. You know, it's not just sitting by, but it's a lot to take in. I think Steve's work with the Phillips Urban Farm is an example of this, of the practical approach to dealing with a sense of, if not great societal disruption, maybe collapse. But on one post I read something that I think is very true, that how to see ourselves in this. And it was proposed that we see ourselves as agents of hospice care for our society, for our communities, our world, as different elements of it die. And there's also agents of being birthing midwives for the birth of what will come, a new possibility. And they go hand in hand, you know, and it is the cycle of life, death, life. And, you know, this general deep adaptation group isn't relying on the God that John is relying on. They're relying on a greater energy in the universe, a life force in the universe. So from deep adaptation, I think I reflect on deep connecting, being present with other people and what we do. And that's a challenge in wearing masks all the time and being in a church that's in its own, is it dying, is it rebirthing, is it, what's it doing, time. But, you know, maybe it's a helpful tool for us to concentrate on as a way to practice some of these things. Inner adaptation and outer adaptation, building deep connecting, which is hard to stay connected, I think. But I think very possible. Then I came across a term I'd never heard before, and then I heard about it again this week. One of those things. Have you heard of Kything prayer? Kything prayer. Kything, Kything prayer. Kything means to make known or manifest, to show or declare. And as a prayer practice, and it was in the 1970s, some nun or monk started this practice and connected it to some old practice, and some people think it's kind of cultish. I don't. At any rate, deep prayer is a threat to the powers. It can be accused of going in the culty direction, but it's really a recommendation for prayer to see oneself in light, to see another person in light that you're praying for, and to imagine the lights connecting. That sounds like a psychic I talked to when my sister was dying, and my higher self and her higher self and the psychic's higher self had conversations. I was in Minnesota, the psychic was in Virginia, and Catherine was sleeping in California. And you would think it was just batshit crazy, except it made what was said made total sense. Even though I was just sitting there being quiet and not mentally thinking of anything, but then it was reported to me. Anyway, so that kind of mystical thing is churches get nervous. The powers get nervous with that. They want to keep the mystery responsibility to themselves. Well, okay, I'm mostly thinking the Catholic Church, frankly. They want to be in charge of the mystery because ordinary people could really screw it up. But then they want ordinary people to be engaged, and so they have them praying to saints and to all sorts of things, the host. It's crazy. Okay. But it calls us to tithing calls us to a mystical connection with other people and with God and with creation. It transcends our separateness without losing our identity. That would be the goal of tithing prayer. It's all fluid, being in God's time. Very fluid. But there you go. What do you say?
Oh, Mary, thanks so much for a lot of what you said, and I especially really am grateful that you brought up societal collapse, because it's a terrifying thing, and I don't think about it often. I do think about it, but it doesn't get talked about, so it's great.
Yeah, and one thought I have, and I'll just kind of get your feeling for it, and it's, I've been thinking about this, you know how we had the death cafes, and they were helpful. I'm thinking about having a cafe about this. Apocalypse Cafe. Anybody else?
Thank you, Mary. Have you heard of a gentleman named Richard Hallam? Richard, I think it's Hallum, also from the United Kingdom, and his podcast or website or something was called Extinction Rebellion. And he said the same thing, that it's going to start with the airlines, and there's going to be a collapse of capitalism. My point is, as long as I can walk and get milk at Holiday and fresh produce at Produce Exchange, we're all fine. And then what's going to happen? Then we get 90-day supply of food, and then what's in 90 days? So my last point is, don't we have to at some point stop the world going from 2 to 4 to 6 to 9 billion? And I think this is a problem mainly in many developing countries, that they're just exponentially reaching a point of no sustainability.
And in part due to mostly climate change, war, all that.
I mean, I just don't think it's fair to point to countries whose populations are growing, sitting here, you know, since we can't deny the fact that we belong to a group that wiped out a whole lot of people. And they're simply recovering, I think. I mean, there's already collapse going around all the world. We're sitting here. We all have a good reason why we're sitting in air conditioning, why 30 of us are sitting in air conditioning. We all have a good reason why most of us drove here. We all have a good reason why we brought stuff in plastic. We all have a good reason why we're going to go somewhere else later on in our cars. We all have good reasons. But the people in Africa, in Bangladesh, God knows the people that are, you know, whose islands are sinking, they have so much less than we do. I just, you know, it's like we have seen the enemy and it is us. And unless we take that to heart, I don't know.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Somewhere around here, you struck a nerve with me because, you know, I like studying history and all of the mysteries, as you said, from the Catholic aspect of the pyramids, which were Egyptian, you know, and it were pagan society or civilizations, so to speak. I mean, at least according to our traditions. In which case we embrace Christ as the embodiment of a spiritual development along that line. But through all the ages, there's this collective conscious called collective amnesia, in which civilizations are washed out in the wisdoms, like the Greeks, where the temples were burned, and so many of the teachings and traditions and things had been lost to violence and just in rebellion in itself. So really, you bored me to the length of it, but the context of the fact that there is a rejuvenation in the end. Of course, even in the New Testament, there's, you know, dying is just like a phoenix. It's just the beginning of a new, you know, clearing of the old away, and with good reason, actually. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I didn't take a great deal of exception to where satirically Carlin embraced, you know, the destruction, you know, of just ignorance and things. But not only that, our own malevolence, you know, our habituation to sex and lavish lifestyles and everything, which is all irrelevant in this day and age. So hang in there.
Mm-hmm. Years ago, there was a book that one of those, first one I ever couldn't stop reading. Even at work, I was sneaking it into the bathroom. It was called The Elementals by Morgan Llewellyn. And it told the story of the Earth through 4 different episodes of Earth, Air, Fire, and Water. And the final episode was in air, and it was in the near distant future when the ozone layer had a huge hole and people were dying across the planet. And this man had found his way. He had some native heritage, and he found his way to a reservation that he could claim bloodline access to. And when he got there, he was a meteorologist. When he got there, he linked up with other people, and he was the final piece in a puzzle. And they started doing a sacred dance to start healing. And when they were doing this dance, they found themselves linked with other groups all across the planet, different traditions, different societies all around the world. And the thing that came out of this was that the Earth knew enough to keep alive those people who would cherish and heal her.
Yeah, I guess I'd play the devil's advocate here. I actually watched there was a Netflix thing about David Koresh last night, and I happened to turn it on, and he had the apocalypse cult idea too, and I actually do believe that we're probably in a really bad place with global warming. I've never felt more distraught about that, but I am reminded of books like The Late Great Planet Earth and a lot of the apocalyptic things that I've heard throughout my life, and all the books that would say the 90s are the end, 80s. And so I take a lot of that with a grain of salt. And I think I'm no Bible scholar, but I believe that the Apostle Paul was also a kind of a apocalyptic person because he believed that Jesus was going to come in that generation. So there is a continuance of this through history. So I keep that in mind when I think about how bleak things look like right now.
And that's what I meant, how fluid it is. It's actually been, up for grabs at every generation in different contexts. Anybody else?
Yeah, the book of Revelations is really an awful book, and it's really all about I'm going to be saved and you're not. And I think that that's a huge part of the problem, that a lot of people, Christians, think that way instead of think about saving me instead of saving us.
Yes, Martin Luther and tons of, and I think other Reformation writers wanted to drop it from the Bible.
Because I feel like I don't want to be thinking about me and not about us. May I be more specific? And if I'm controversial, you can just ignore it. Because I feel in this world, when some people think the only way to procreate is to have babies, and I think there's a whole other side. Either you procreate or intimate. It's for the GLBTQIA plus community. And as a person who identifies with queer after the breakup of my marriage, the only reason I encourage the educating of the GLBTQ community, because my point is, when you go from 3.6 to 9 billion, if we go to 18 billion, this at some point is going to be impossible for everybody. And I'm saying maybe, and I was guilty of 7 kids because my ex-wife didn't believe in birth control and wanted a lot of people around her. I was 180 degrees from there when I met her. So yes, and boy, is it stressful. So I'm saying to consider, wait a minute, maybe intimacy is acceptable and even okay as opposed to just for procreation.
I don't think anybody here would really disagree. I'm just guessing. Okay. We have special music. David is on. Here, do you need this? No, you got one.
This is Take It With Me by Tom Waits. Phone's off the hook. No one knows where we are. It's been a long time since I drank champagne. The ocean is blue as your eyes. I'm gonna take it with me when I go. Old, long since gone. Now way back when we lived on Coney Island. Ain't no good thing ever dies. I'm gonna take it with me when I go. Far, far away, a train whistle blows. Wherever you're going, wherever you've been, waving goodbye at the end of the day. You're up and you're over and you're far away. Always for you, forever yours. It felt just like the old days. We fell asleep on Beulah's porch. I'm gonna take it with me when I go. All broken down by the side of the road. I was never more alive or alone. I've worn the faces off all the cards. I'm gonna take it with me when I go. Children are playing at the end of the day. Strangers are singing on our lawn. It's got to be more than flesh and bone. All that you've loved is all you own. In a land there's a town. In that town there's a house. In that house there's a woman. In that woman there's a heart I love. I'm gonna take it with me when I go. I'm gonna take it with me when I go.
All right, let's get in a circle. And we'll start with our joys and concerns, so I'll walk around here and see if anyone has joy or concern to share.
I can't think.
I guess it's, yeah, I'm not sure if it's a joy or a concern, but last week I promised to collate all of the answers we had in the back there on the table, some copies. Everyone's thoughts are on there. I couldn't make a whole bunch of copies because I could only get so many for free at the library. So if you want to share them, go ahead. And if it's okay with Howard and Mary, I'll email them a copy. Then if you have their email, I can get a copy from them as well. Thanks.
Well, look who I have with me today, Sherry Bretsky Genia. She's in town for our July birthday party. All three of my children are born in July, so we have a birthday party in July.
Great. How's Tony doing?
Oh, Tony is feeling better. You know, he had COVID. Well, he still has it. And so he's attending on Zoom. He still can't taste anything, so he has to lay low for a while longer. Okay, do we have any birthdays this week? Oh, Sherry, right. Lou. Okay, Sherry, Lou, and David.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Sherry and David and Lou. Happy birthday to you. Okay, this is a special request from our preacher today, number 100 in your book.
100 in your book. 12 keys to the city.
that has to do with the apocalypse, but okay. Oh, what a beautiful city. Oh, what a beautiful city. Oh, what a beautiful city. You're 12 weeks to the city. Hallelujah. 3 gates in the east, 3 gates in the west, 3 gates in the north, 3 gates in the south, and there's a total of 12 gates to the city. Hallelujah. Who are those children that dressed in red? There's 12 gates to the city. Hallelujah. Must be the children that Moses led. There's 12 gates to the city. Hallelujah. Oh, what a beautiful city. Oh, what a beautiful city. Oh, what a beautiful city. 12 gates to the city. Hallelujah. My God done just what he said. It's 12 gates to the city. Hallelujah. And he healed the sick and he raised the dead. There's 12 gates to the city. Hallelujah. Oh, what a beautiful city. Oh, what a beautiful city. Oh, what a beautiful city. 12 gates to the city. Hallelujah. Oh, when I get to heaven, go sing and shout that it's 12 gates to the city. Hallelujah. Ain't nobody gonna put me out there. It's 12 gates to the city. Hallelujah. Oh, what a beautiful city. Oh, what a beautiful city. Oh, what a beautiful city. 12 gates to the city. Hallelujah. There's 12 gates to the city. Hallelujah. Shalom.